toughest thing about being a stand-up comic is that, for most of the day, you are sitting down. My shows last an hour or two. That leaves me with about 22 free hours every day, minus sleep, of course. So I have 19 hours left to putter around my hotel room. Every time I turn on the TV, the channel defaults to the after-hours network. Look, I live in Canada, and I swear in all of these movies people don't wear any clothes. Either they aren't filmed in Canada or these poor actors haven't heard about Value Village, so terrible. Well, I have about 15 minutes before the pool opens, so I am going to listen to radioai.ca. Oh, today's show is about Russian corruption. Who knew? Well, I guess the cinder-blocked walls and tungsten fluorescent lights in the pool area will have to wait. This looks interesting.
Outrage grips the nation as yet another American. The talented ballerina Ksenia Karelina falls victim to Putin's iron-fisted regime. Held captive in Russia by the tyrannical FSB, she's branded a traitor for what? For daring to support Ukraine's fight against Russian aggression. Can you believe it, folks? Videos surfacing online show Karelina, blindfolded and in handcuffs, dragged into a courtroom like a common criminal. This is the treatment she gets for trying to make a difference, for raising a measly $51 to aid the Ukrainian army. And what's her crime? Swearing outside a movie theater. Give me a break. But it doesn't end there, folks. The injustice piles on as Karelina faces the possibility of rotting away in a Russian prison for 20 years. And for what? For standing up against Putin's oppressive regime. The White House is scrambling, trying to secure her release. But with Putin pulling the strings, who knows what'll happen? And let's not forget, Karelina isn't the first American to suffer under Putin's thumb. Remember Evan Gershkovich, Paul Whelan, and now David Barnes. The list keeps growing, folks. And what's Putin's response to all this? Oh, he's open to releasing Americans, but only if it suits his agenda. He's playing games with people's lives while cozying up to murderers and assassins like Vadim Krasikov. This is an outrage, America. It's time we stand up, speak out, and demand justice for Ksenia Karelina and all the others unjustly detained by Putin's regime. Now let's hear from the folks on the street. Take it away, average Americans.
Russia used to be on my list of countries to visit. No more. Every Russian should get out if they can. Putin will murder anyone who attempts to do anything he disagrees with. Every independent journalist has been either murdered or they have wisely left the country. He just killed the Russian soldier who defected to Spain. He kills or attempts to kill anyone who tries to get the truth out about him.
I wonder what Tucker has to say about this.
Russia doesn't have anything better to do than arrest swearing ballerinas? If countries are like people, the most controlling are the most internally weak and insecure. What do you think, Norm?
Sorry, but this smells like a government-run psyop. Purpose is to crank up public support for war and get those $96 billion flowing to Ukraine. This is what they do. Wash, rinse, repeat.
Problem is, it's Russia and they have a very different idea of what treason is and how it's defined.
She's a traitor. She raised money for an enemy of Russia, then went back to the same country she betrayed. Do you agree, Bob?
Political stunt by a devious Secret Service to show the West they do not care. Putin employees that are frightened for their own safety, not dedicated supporters of a suppressive autocracy. Yet 30 years ago it all started so hopefully with free elections and multi-choice candidates. How far the Russians have fallen under Putin.
Only one thing going to save and deliver the 3 Americans now. Complete release of all Russian seized funds. $300 billion, I believe.
That was no random arrest for petty hooliganism. I suspect they have been following her since she bragged about becoming a U.S. citizen on the Russian social media platform in 2021. The ultimate insult in Putin's eyes. Her support for Ukraine was the final straw. Hope she is returned to the U.S. and her husband soon. What are your thoughts, Mr. Morning Announcer?
Putin is looking for a fight with the West.
Putin is completely paranoid.
Unless Karelina officially denounced Russian citizenship, she is still Russian, and therefore entered Russia using her Russian passport. Typically, in such a case, the U.S. Department of State will do absolutely nothing because Karelina decided to be treated as a Russian citizen during her trip at the moment she crossed the Russian border. This is very different from the case of Gershkovich, who entered Russia with a Russian visa in his American passport. Over to you, Sleepy Joe. Putin called your bluff, so what are you going to do now? have an ice cream or a nap.
This undermines all the hogwash from Kremlin trolls who attempt to claim that Russia is a civilized and democratic country. It is just another tin-pot dictatorship, like Hamilton Berger's office. I wonder what my political commentator friend has to say.
Like Canada when Americans supported their truckers, right, my friend?
What a ridiculous comparison. Canadians can easily change their government if they find it being undemocratic. Russians are completely unable to change their totalitarian regime. Stop spouting Russian propaganda.
If Trump wins the next presidential election, this will be normal in the United States. The world should be terrified.
Putin does not like Biden, my God. Here's another story trying to accuse Biden of what Trump is publicly saying and doing. Both Putin and Trump made very clear they are together, and why you keep seeing newspapers sympathizing with Putin. Better decide which way you're going. Putin doesn't like you riding the fence. Either you're with Putin and Trump, or your country and Biden your leader. Biden is supplying Ukraine, and Trump is saying he will hand them over to Putin. I swear to God, this is one mess you will own. Can't hide from this one. It was literally less than a week. My God, you all are pathetic. You got an opinion, my New York friend?
What right or moral authority does the U.S. have to criticize Russia or Putin after what it's done to Julian Assange? For fuck's sake, this is ridiculous. There is only one opinion I want, and that is from Judgy Judgerston. Should I go to Russia for a vacation, Judgy?
Mr. Lawyer, haven't you spent enough time in trouble? I thought you learned your lesson. Let me explain. I have a message for every good democracy-loving individual. Don't go to Russia. Russia is patently corrupt. From the minute you get off the airplane in Moscow, you will be watched. Your movements are recorded by pervasive government cameras. Your hotel room will likely be bugged. You will likely meet Russian operatives that will do their best to entice you into some sort of activity. Thousands of foreigners disappear every year in Russia. I was made aware of illegal slave operations in backwoods Russia. I saw secret information about a complete lumber and sawmill operation run entirely by slaves. The conditions were so deplorable I can't even describe the lack of basic humanity. Not only are foreigners abducted, but Russia has reciprocal arrangements with corrupt dictatorships like North Korea. I saw with my own eyes North Koreans in Russian slave labor camps. I have seen how Wagner works. They pay foreign mercenaries $5,000 a month to fight on the front. What you don't know is that 100% of the soldiers die on the front. It is a system of cannon fodder in the shape of humans. The cycle continues. I wonder how many of these mercenaries actually collect their first month's check. They have to use foreign mercenaries. There are no willing Russian young men left. What is the Russian draft maximum age? 65. It is worth checking. Russia isn't even fighting its own war. Don't go to Russia. Period. So sit down, Cohen. Throw your Russian travel brochure in the garbage. Try visiting Canada. The beaver tails are scrumptious, the women divine, and there are more cannabis shops than 7-Eleven. I kid you not. And no one will mess with you trying to develop compromat and ruin your life. Have a great day, folks.